Yeah, family, y'all. Just keep it tight, keep it tight, keep it tight. Oh, right. Yeah. Here we go.
Plato's psychology. So psychology, the Greek word psyche, means the soul. So this is what he believes about the soul. His psychology is what he believes about the soul. Not what he believes about mental states of people, but what is it that he believes about the soul. What does Plato believe about the soul? First of all, we said that he believes in the psychological dualism, this dualism of soul and body. What is the human person? The human person has soul and body. Which one is more important? Which one is preeminent? The soul. Soul is more important than the body. Which is why Socrates could deny himself food, he could fast, he could be abstemious. You know what? Because the body is not the focus. The soul is. Socrates taught him that. In his dialogue, The Laws, he talks about how the soul is self-initiating motion, or the source of motion in a body, in a person. He says, the only existing thing which properly possesses intelligence is soul. So if you think that you are smart, you're not smart. It's the soul that possesses intelligence. And this is an invisible thing, whereas fire, water, earth, and air, you can see all of them. Right? Or you have some sense that they're there. Air, right? You can't see it, but you know that air is filling this room. Earth, fire, water, you can see all these things. The one thing that we can't see is the soul. The body also exercises influence over the soul. How interesting then that this soul is now contained within a body. The soul before was in this metaphysical realm where it knew the good and beauty, but now it's in a body. So now that your soul is in a body, what does that mean? It means that your body has some influence over your soul. Think about it for a moment. When you're ill, that illness does something to your spirit and to your soul. It can influence deep parts of who you are. And so since the body and the soul are connected, hence the need for physical education, it was simply the ancients' belief that if you had in order to have a healthy mind, you have to have a healthy body as well. Healthy body, healthy mind. Plato stresses the influence of heredity, the things that we inherit in the environments in which we grow up. So how it is that faulty education and or the defective constitution that we inherit from others. He writes, no one is willingly bad. No one wants to be bad. The bad person becomes bad because of some faulty habit of body and a stupid upbringing. Ouch, parents. And these are unwelcome evils that come to any person without his or her choice. Do you choose an unhealthy or stupid upbringing? Do you choose your parents? What is it your parents say or do or teach you? You don't. You're simply the product of that. The soul has three parts. This becomes interesting now, because as part of Plato's psychology, what he believes the soul to be, he's going to tell us that the soul has three parts. What are the three parts of the soul? There's a rational part, there is a courageous or spirited part, and there's an appetitive part. We see the English root of the word appetite in there. So there's a part that has appetites, desires. Ooh. He says that the rational can be thought of as residing in the head, right? Reason, the mind. The spirited, think of your lungs and your heart, is in the chest. And the appetitive is more in your gut, in your stomach. There's a conflict in the soul. So within your soul, so it has these three parts, the rational, the spirited, and the appetitive. What's happening with the three of them? There's this conflict between the three. Plato says that the rational is like the chariot driver. Think now, okay, chariot driver. The chariot driver's in a chariot and has a horse or two. So the rational is the chariot driver trying to steer this thing. What are the two horses? The two horses are the spirited and the appetitive. The spirited is the good horse and an ally of the reason. So you have one good horse, thankfully. And the other horse, the appetitive horse, that's the bad horse. So suddenly we have this unruly horse that obeys the voice of sensual passion. That's what happens. What happens with the charioteer? You have one obedient and good horse and one unruly horse. get out that whip. What does it mean? You have to rein that horse in. That horse has to be restrained, that wild horse within each of us. Plato is simply trying to understand how it is that we as human beings, we can do great spiritual things, but we can also do other things. What's happening at those times? It's simply the case that the other horse takes over. The appetitive horse allows its appetites to take over. And if we're not in control of our horses, what's going to happen? We're going to be going off in the directions of that unruly horse. So how it is essentially that there are rival springs of action in us. There's this good cause of action and this evil cause of action. It's almost like the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. We've seen those cartoons, how it is that you have the angel on one shoulder tempting you to do good things, the spirited horse. You have the devil on the other shoulder tempting you toward other things, the appetitive horse, the unruly horse. How it is that Plato saw those two competing forces within people do. And if we don't rein them back, if we don't whip that horse, if we don't somehow restrain that horse, it's going to take us for a ride. Plato's moral theology. So Plato's ethic is eudaimonistic. What does it mean to be eudaimonistic? It's directed toward the attainment of the highest good and of true happiness. So, for instance, there's a person, Protarchus, who is arguing that the good consists in pleasure. Is Socrates going to agree that the good is the same as pleasure? No, wait a minute. For him, the good consists in wisdom. So Plato then would come to the conclusion that we don't live this unmixed life of either wisdom or pleasure, but somehow wisdom and pleasure are mixed together in us. The analogy that he used is that of honey and water. We don't drink straight honey, but if you put a little bit of honey in water, that's some sweet water. That tastes pretty good. Okay? So the question then becomes, how much honey do you put in the water? They have to be in the right proportion. So what's the proportion of wisdom and what's the proportion of pleasure that we should have in our lives? First of all, when we're talking about this, the honey of pleasure, we want to be careful because the pleasures of folly and badness, no, those don't go into the water, right? Those have no place in the mixture. So any folly or badness have nothing to do with this pleasure. Pleasures have to have no pain mixed with them. So if we're causing pain to ourselves and or to others, no. That's not part of the mix. So any pleasure that we enjoy cannot cause pain to us or to others. Some proportion of pleasure can be given to us and to our bodies to moderate satisfaction of appetites when it is harmless. Interesting. So long as we're not harming ourselves or others, then we probably shouldn't be overly concerned with whatever pleasures. Plato clung to his master's idea that virtue is knowledge and that virtue is teachable. How interesting, because then when we choose to do evil, we're actually choosing it because it seems to us to be good. Or the term that he used was sub specie boni. It seems to us, we choose it under the species of the good. It appears to us to be good. Why did the child lie about breaking the lamp? Because lying appeared to that child to be good. We desire something that seems to be good, but is in fact bad. So the child chooses to avoid punishment. Seems like a good thing, right? Seems good. It's actually bad. The child is lying. The horse of appetite sometimes rushes at what appears to it to be good. Let's just be honest. All of us are human beings in this mixture of water and honey, which is wisdom and pleasure. And if we were honest, all of us have had times before when, when that horse kicks in, and when we don't rein it in, when we don't whip it, we've all had those experiences in life. How it appears to rush at something that seems, at that moment, to that horse of appetite to be good. However, if the charioteer, reason, the rational, if the charioteer has knowledge of the good, he or she will use the whip and not allow the good to be obscured by an onrush of passion, which is why knowledge is so good. If we know the good, then when we're feeling that horse going towards something, let's use the example of getting drunk again, right? Okay, so I'm a reasonable person, but I just have that inclination to have a drink right now. Ooh, I know I shouldn't have a drink, but I just really want to have a drink right now, right? After what happened to me today, I want to have a drink. What happens then at those times then? The charioteer, who knows what is good, has at that time to rein back that horse, because otherwise what's going to happen? I'm having a drink. If you choose what is really evil or harmful, you're actually fixing your attention only on that aspect that seems good. So if you're choosing to drink, which is harmful to your body and could lead you to habits and etc., if you're choosing to drink, really you're not choosing to drink because it's bad and harmful. You're choosing the good aspects of it, right? That I'm going to drown my sorrows, I'm going to forget about this day or whatever it is. I'm focusing on those good aspects that I perceive drinking to bring me. The example that he used was more extreme though. He says if you murder your enemy, you don't do it because you're an evil person. You're focused on the good that murdering that person would bring. Right? Whether that's satiating your desire for revenge, whether that's getting them out of the picture so you don't have to deal with them anymore, you're focusing on the good. I use good within quotation marks there, right? But you're focused on the good aspects of murdering that person. Plato rejects the notion that we should do good to friends and do evil to enemies. There were many ancients who said that, right? Do good to friends, do evil to enemies. Ooh, what did Jesus say? Love your enemies. Radical. Plato's notion was that evil can never be good. If you're doing evil to someone, evil can never be good. Especially if you're causing pain, right?